What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Night Shift. This is Josh Engelman. Normally this is the Jake Show, but Sunday nights you get me. So I was hoping to walk through some of my crunches with my preliminary projections for Monday night's main slate. 7 games on the main slate, which looks like it could be pretty good. Unfortunately, Fantasy Cruncher hasn't rolled over to May 7th yet. So I'm just going to take a walk through some of the pitching and then what I'm expecting to be some of my main stacks. So I'm going to look at FanDuel first, then DK, then FanDuel, then DK. Should be the easiest way to do it, but we'll see. Anyway, FanDuel pitching-wise, I think number one is pretty clearly Strasburg. He's 10,000 on FanDuel. Got a matchup with the Padres in Petco. Padres implied total right now, 3.1 runs. It's the lowest implied total on the slate by 0.3 of a run. I think that Strasburg grades out really nicely here. The Padres aren't exactly a team that I'm super worried about from a bats perspective. So anytime that you can get an elite pitcher against the Padres on a slate with only 7 games, I'm expecting Strasburg's ownership to be relatively high. You don't get many better setups than this. I'm a little surprised by how low the Nats implied total is. It's a little bit more respect for Tyson Ross than I was going to expect. Ross, 7,700 on FanDuel. To me, he's not a guy that I'm really looking to target. I don't see him matching up all that well with the Nats. I'm trying to take a look at some of the advanced stats for the Padres right now, see where they land. Whew, lovely. So Padres for the year are second in baseball in swinging strike rate. Not exactly something you want to be second in when Steven Strasburg comes to town. That just makes me like Strasburg even more. Anxious to see what their batted ball profile looks like. See how much hard contact they get against righties. I'm going to assume if they're getting that many swinging strikes, it's probably in the mid-tier. What do we got? Padres, 14th. See, right in the middle of everything, just as I suspected. So yeah, Strasburg is my expectation for my highest owned pitcher of the slate. If I had to guess who's going to be number 2 for me on FanDuel, I would expect that to be Kyle Hendricks. Hendricks currently 69% chance to win for the Cubs. Marlins with a 3.4 run implied total, which is second just behind the Padres. So that looks pretty good. Hendricks isn't exactly a guy that misses a ton of bats. So this is more of a play in trying to pick up a win. But at 7,900, it's really hard to not want to have at least some part of Hendricks. It's such a great value, particularly against the Marlins. Marlins, while they don't have a ton of swing and miss in them, they do have the 29th ranked offense in hard hit balls against righties. They're just not squaring up anything that comes out of a right-hander's hand, which that just happens to be Hendricks' throwing hand. So it's definitely a guy I want to look at. I'd guess that I'd probably have... I can't even guess totals right now, but I would guess I would have twice as much Strasburg as I would Hendricks, and they'd probably both make up, 70 to 75% of my pitching. So maybe 40% Strasburg, 20% Hendricks, maybe 60%. That seems a little low. Maybe 45-25, something along those lines. We'll see a little bit more in the morning show with Jake and I. So Strasburg and Hendricks are my 2 main guys. I would expect... It's really hard to guess this stuff the night before. Keuchel and Samardzija would be my next 2 guys. Let's dig into Keuchel first. Keuchel, 4-run implied total for the A's. relatively low for the slate. A's are middle of the pack in swinging strike rate. Let's see where they are. Hard hit balls against lefties. Number 1, which I think I remember knowing. Looks like I'm going to be leaning a little bit more towards Samardzija, unless this goes incredibly poorly. Giants and Phillies. The Giants are in Philadelphia for this game. 4.5 run implied total for the Phillies. I just sort of like Samardzija for some strange reason here. I don't necessarily trust Samardzija all that much, but he's got a really nice price. 6,900 on FanDuel puts him in the middle of the pack. He's a little bit more expensive on DraftKings. So let's take a look and see where the Phillies line up from swinging strike rate. So they're 5th in swinging strike rate. Plays into Samardzija a little bit. Samardzija not exactly missing bats like he used to, but you know, if the Phillies are going to be swinging and missing a lot, I think Samardzija could look at what could be a decent day. Let's check the hard contact out. Phillies are, where are you hiding, Phillies? 24th hard contact versus righties. Yeah, so there we go. So my 3 main pitchers for FanDuel: Strasburg, Kyle Hendricks, Jeff Samardzija. I don't think a lot of people will be on Samardzija because of the implied total right now. So that is something to keep an eye on. You won't necessarily need a ton of him to beat the field. Now, if I look at DraftKings from a pitching perspective, I hate everything. I hate Strasburg's price on DraftKings, $13,600. He's a full $4,000 more expensive than the second guy, which is Kyle Hendricks. I don't like Hendricks nearly as much as I do on FanDuel. Strikeout's a little bit more important on DK, win a little bit less important. And then for some reason, Hendricks is the second most expensive pitcher on DK instead of the 4th where he is on FanDuel. So I know that Strasburg will likely be the guy that I have probably the most of, and he'll be relatively popular on DK because of just the way the structure works. But I don't really know where else to go. Hendricks works, but I think spending $23,200 on Strasburg and Hendricks from a pitching perspective on DK is going to be pretty tough to pull off on a 7-game slate. You'll be able to get there, but you might not be getting the best of the bats, and I don't think it's worth that sort of price. The problem is I don't like moving down all that much. I'm not the biggest fan of Keuchel at 9,400. Tyson Ross is the 4th most expensive pitcher on DK. He's a guy that I don't expect to be on at all. Samardzija's price isn't the best value, 8,400 on DK. So I think that a Strasburg Samardzija lineup is fine. And then we get into this area of like Michael Fulmer, Fernando Romero, Zach Eflin, even Brett Anderson, Harlan Garcia. I don't like any of those guys. They grade out really, really poorly. The problem is the next couple guys after that are Matt Moore, who's terrible, really high implied total. Homer Bailey, terrible, really high implied total. The only other guy that I think that you could take a reasonable look at would be John Gant. I believe he's making his first start of the year, but let me double check that. Did have a couple decent 6-inning starts. Yeah, that'll be the first start of the year. He did pitch 3 innings in relief. Had a couple starts in AAA, got to 6 innings, so he might be able to get to 5 1/3, 5 2/3, even upwards of 6. They've got the Twins. The Cardinals have the Twins, and the Twins have the 3rd lowest implied total, 3.9 runs. So Gant is only 4,200. I think that he would pair relatively nicely with Strasburg. The Cardinals, pretty sizable favorites right now. If I take a look, it's a 57% chance to win. Gant's steamer projected line, 8.5 Ks per 9, 3.2 walks, and a 3.99 FIP. That's really not too bad. I think that he makes a really nice starting pitcher 2 option, and barring any weird news that I see, I expect him to be popular isn't the right word for it, but he'll have a decent amount of ownership just because of the way that this is set up. Or he won't. If you're a Awesemo.com premium subscriber and you see his projected ownership relatively low, then it won't take much for you to get slightly over the field for him. But I would like to have at least a little bit of him on DraftKings at that price point. Makes your pitching a little bit cheaper. You know, if you can get the average of Strasburg and Gant, which is 17.8, so that's what, 8,900? Yeah, that's not too shabby. So there we go. Strasburg, Hendricks, Samardzija on FanDuel. Strasburg, Hendricks, Samardzija, John Gant would be the way that I would want to go there. If I had to make just one lineup, I honestly think I would do Strasburg and Gant, which is crazy. If we're looking at hitting, I think we need to start in Chicago with the Cubs. There is no total yet on this Cubs game. If the wind is blowing out as expected, I've got it set for 8.5 right now, and I absolutely love the Cubs hitters. So if it goes any higher than 8.5, obviously I'm going to love them even more. They're going to be relatively chalky. If it goes lower than 8.5, like if it gets to 8, I don't have much of a problem. 7.5 will probably make it a little bit trickier. So it's definitely a line you want to keep an eye on. As for the Cubs stack itself, so here's the lineup that I have in right now. It's Albert Almora, Javi Baez, Chris Bryant, Anthony Rizzo, Wilson Contreras, Ben Zobrist, Addison Russell, Jason Hayward. They've got the lefty Harlan Garcia on the hill for the Marlins. So Almora, Baez, and Bryant. I mean, it's hard to get three better bats at the top of a lineup. Almora, 2,800 on FanDuel, just an exceptional price. But Chris Bryant will likely be a spotlight hitter for tomorrow. 4,200, just an absolute bargain price. I sort of feel the same way about Javier Baez on DK. 4,500 for a second baseman against a lefty. It looks great. I'd be happy to use Almora, Baez, Bryant, Contreras, and Zobrist on FanDuel. They would be my priority 5 guys. I don't mind taking Anthony Rizzo, 4,100 on FanDuel. People usually shy away from the lefty-lefty matchup, so you can usually get a decent amount of exposure to him to be above the field. So the Cubs will be my most popular stack. I like them on both sites equally. You know, Wilson Contreras obviously looks a little bit better on DK since you need to play a catcher. But I'd be happy going anywhere, 1 to 6 would be my focus. And I think that you can go 1 to 7 if you really want to, if you need to fit in a shortstop, which would be Addison Russell. So Cubs are the first stack that I definitely want to have at least a little bit of. I guess it's probably in my best interest to check out the weather for tomorrow. Let's see if this is loaded up yet. Doesn't appear to be. Let me find another weather source. Boop, 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 boop. Seriously, does no one have weather posted for tomorrow yet? Lazy people. Awesemo.com out here grinding the day before. Nobody else seems to be doing that. That's why we're the best. That's why we're the best. Well, I have no way to look at the weather right now, so let's see if another website that isn't us has any updated weather. No, certainly don't. So we're going to proceed as if all of these games have no weather issues. Check us out in the normal video with myself and Jake in the morning, and we'll have a little bit more of an update. Second stack that I believe I would want a decent amount of, I'd be looking into the Rangers-Tigers game. Rangers have a 4.7 run implied total. Tigers 4.8. The two pitchers in this game, not guys that I terribly like. Matt Moore is atrocious. 6.9 Ks per 9, a 3.6 walk rate, and a 5.19 FIP projected from Steamer. Just not very good. So if you're looking for Tigers bats, they're probably the best bet from like a dollar for dollar perspective. I think the Cubs have better high-end talent, but I would much rather have the Tigers bats if I needed to fit in Strasburg. So Leonis Martin leading off at 3,000 on FanDuel looks great. I'd take him on DK. I like Candelario. I like Cabrera, Castellanos, Jacoby Jones. You can get a really cheap stack anywhere 1 to 6 on FanDuel or DK and be really happy about it. Even if you needed to get Jose Iglesias, he's not my favorite guy in the world, but getting that righty-lefty matchup. Everybody's a righty except for Leonis Martin, so keep that in mind. Matt Moore's going to have a really difficult night. Problem is, I really like the Rangers side of this too. Michael Fulmer doesn't get a ton of respect from Vegas. 4.19 FIP isn't bad, but he doesn't miss a lot of bats. So if some of those balls start finding holes, it could get troublesome for Fulmer in a hurry. So DeShields leading off. I'm always really interested in leadoff hitters. But if I'm looking for lefties, Shin-Soo Choo, 3,200 on FanDuel, 3,800 on DK. I think he looks really nice. I feel the same sort of way about Profar, 2,700 on FanDuel, 3,400 on DK. It's got the dual second base shortstop eligibility on DraftKings, so it really makes it easy to fit in a Ranger stack. I like Mazzara. I'd say that Joey Gallo has to be one of the more likely opportunities for a home run tomorrow. 3,500 on FanDuel, 4,300 on DK. Might end up taking Joey Gallo as my Diddy Dong. For those of you that come to the live stream, you know what I'm talking about. For those of you that don't come to the live stream, you should come to the live stream so you know what I'm talking about. I'd be able to go 1 to 5 for the Rangers, and I think that would be fine. And then on FanDuel, I'd be happy to have Ronald Guzman slotted in at the 7 spot right now, but gets the lefty-righty matchup against Fulmer. Minimum salary on FanDuel really makes things a little bit more unique for a stack. This makes for a really nice game stack. I'd be happy to have as many Rangers and Tigers as I could fit in with whatever pitcher I can get. If it's Strasburg, great. If I have to drop to Hendricks, that's fine too. But those would be my 3 main stacks, I think. Cubs, Rangers, Tigers. I'll probably get into a little bit more detail of the Reds and Mets during the show tomorrow morning. But for now, my overnight thoughts would be Cubs, Rangers, Tigers. I think it's just a really good spot for Rangers and Tigers, especially with that game being in Texas, a little bit of a hitter's park. Could get a little squirrely for Moore and Fulmer. So that's basically all I've got right now. I really wish that I could have walked through some crunches with you guys. I know that that's like the most fun thing to do, but I don't have the ability to do it right now. Fantasy Cruncher is not rolled over. So you will see those crunches in our morning video. Like and subscribe this if you are liking the night shift. We like to give you guys something either overnight or something that you could have really early in the morning to check out, get a preliminary look at the slate. No day games tomorrow, so it's all going to be main slate stuff. We'll have a live stream tomorrow night starting at 6 o'clock. Myself and Chris Spags. So come check that out. Come to the website, awesomeo.com. Churning out a ton of content on a daily basis. With baseball rankings and ownership, basketball rankings and ownership, Jake's hockey articles, Chris's switch and hedge. We've got a ton of stuff to check out, so please come check that stuff out. Follow us on Twitter for any links that you might be missing. That's at awesomeo_com, AWESEMO_COM. That's all I've got, guys. I hope you enjoyed this, and I will see you all in the morning. Until then, talk to you later.